One of the most common interview questions is, what is your greatest strength? It seems straightforward, but there's more to this question than you may think. Like with any interview question, there's a right way to answer it and a wrong way to answer it. And a simple two-worded answer like problem solving or time management just won't cut it. Today, I'm going to teach you how to ace this tricky job interview question.
Career advice by Nova Resume.
So, what is your greatest strength? For me, it's definitely my ability to eat 2 entirely pizza by myself. But let's talk about professional strengths instead. There's a reason this question is so famous. Pretty much every job interview includes it. When the hiring manager asks you what is your greatest strength, what they want to know is, do you know your own strengths? Are you realistic about them? And are they relevant to the job you're applying for? The hiring manager is looking for a self-aware candidate who can provide concrete examples of their strength without exaggerating.
Why don't I tell you what my greatest weaknesses are? I work too hard, I care too much, and sometimes I can be too invested in my job.
Now, let's talk about how you can answer this question the right way. Here's a simple formula you can use. State your strength, provide a specific example of when you use this strength and how, and if applicable, describe the impact you had through this strength. Let me show you an example. I excel at the quick decision-making under pressure demonstrated when I managed an IT conference at Company X. Faced with last-minute speaker cancellations and volunteer no-shows, I extended the speaker slots, included Q&A sessions, and promoted in-depth discussions. I promptly recruited 2 willing students from my network and briefed them before the event, ensuring a smooth execution despite initial hurdles. As you can see, relevant details can go a long way and they make for a great answer. Now you already know the formula to answering this question, but let's talk about a few tips that you should keep in mind. Tip number 1. Be humble. The hiring manager is asking about your greatest strength, so you shouldn't just keep listing qualities. Only mention one strength unless the hiring manager asks for more, and don't exaggerate it. Being comprehensive about one strength is always better than raving up about all your qualities. Let's look at an example. I'm a very good writer. I'm also fluent in several languages. I can edit and translate. I actually got an award for Best Foreign Language Poetry when I was in university. And after that, I went on to publish my first novel. Of course, I've also ghostwritten autobiographies for several famous clients, but I'm not allowed to say who because of non-disclosure agreements. Yeah, that one is all over the place and it feels like the candidate is just showing off. Then the other one. I'm a very good writer. My last 2 jobs were 99% copywriting. So far, I've done pretty much everything writing related: email, marketing, website copy, blog post. I even ghostwrote for an ebook for a client. I've also guest posted on several popular blogs such as Blog X and Blog Y. Sticking to one thread makes for such a better answer. Tip number 2. Keep it relevant. You should always keep your answer relevant to the position you're applying for. If you're looking for a job as a social media marketing manager, focus on skills that will help you excel at that particular job. For example, time management, creativity, organizational skills, teamwork, and attention to details are all great strengths for someone in that position. So just pick one of them you feel more comfortable with. Irrelevant strengths would be something like coding or auditing. Even if you're really good at them, the interviewer won't care so much and you won't impress them. Here's an example. I'm really good at HTML. I taught myself how to code and actually provide free online website themes and make tutorial videos. I'm really good at time management. I'm skilled at scheduling content and creating content calendars. And I've been working on my graphic design skills for the past few months. I create a lot of social media content, so I started collaborating with the design team at Company X and making custom graphics for their company's social media accounts. The first example would make a great answer if HTML would be a job requirement. But for a social media marketing manager, the other example is what you should go for. Tip number 3. Back up your claims. If your biggest strength is your communication skills and you can't think of a single example where you use them, the interviewer just won't believe you. Always have concrete examples available to back up your strengths. Let's say you're applying for a customer-facing role. Your answer could look something like this. I'm really good at customer service. I always take my time to help each customer and figure out how the work can be improved. While I was working at Pair Computers, I actually spearheaded a team effort to improve ticket processing. Over the course of 4 months, we got a customer satisfaction from 85% all the way up to 96%. Showing the impact your strength had on the organization is always a plus. Tip number 4, prepare in advance. This is a little bit of a no-brainer, but preparing before your interview is crucial. Preparing for an interview is just like preparing for a battle. But instead of a sword, you bring your well-polished resume. And instead of an armor, you wear your best suit. And instead of fighting, you have a polite conversation about your strengths. Take some time to really think about what your strengths are and how they can relate to the position you're applying for. What I recommend is writing down 3 of your top strengths and come up with relevant examples for each. You don't have to memorize them perfectly. It's just about giving yourself a clear idea of what you're going to talk about during the interview. And those are my top tips on how to answer what is your greatest strength. Now, before we wrap up this video, let's talk about 2 things you should never say when asked this question. Mistake number 1, don't lie. Lying is never a good idea, but when it comes to talking about your strength during an interview, it's as bad as it can get.
With big green eye.
If you saw that the job ad for a sales associate required persuasion skills, but that's not a strength of yours, don't pretend it during the interview. The hiring manager will find out what you're saying it's a lie, or worse, it's going to be obvious you lied once you start the job and you might end up getting fired. And mistake number 2, don't be too modest. Another common mistake is for candidates to be too modest with their strengths. Don't just say you're okay with this or that, explain why you're great at it. You know, being too modest can be like ordering a small coffee when you actually need a gallon of caffeine to survive the day. Don't underestimate the power of your strength. Here's an example for someone in the service industry. Well, I guess I get along okay with people. I don't mind handling grumpy customers or a fast-paced environment. Yeah, way too modest. I'm very communicative and really good with people. After 3 years of experience in the service industry, I got pretty good at performing under pressure. At Restaurant X, there was constant chaos, especially during peak season. The place was completely packed all the time and the whole thing felt like a race against time. But I actually enjoyed the experience though. Ended up going there 3 summers in a row. Now that's much better. And that concludes this video breakdown on how to answer what is your greatest strength. Hopefully you feel more confident in what you should say during your next job interview. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to Novo Resume's YouTube channel for more.
Career Advice by Novo Resume.
Oh no, I hope to not break it.